I did gloss over these earlier on. The time dimension on this chart is nowhere near long enough to know whether or not there is a meaningful relationship between these two variables. So what you would want to do is find this possibly on Chain Exposed, maybe chainexposed.com, which is a website that a lot of people have been using post-grad, and find a version of this chart, or maybe check on Chain. Check on Chain might have a version of this chart, and find one that goes back like several years and see if there's a meaningful relationship between those. I don't think, I mean, there'd be some sort of a correlation there, but it's probably not the correlation you think. At least this specific chart is not useful because it does not go back very far, so it doesn't give us any meaningful relationship between those. Falling interest in ETH. So this one here, you've incorrectly identified what the chart is trying to show us. It's not falling interest in Ethereum. Second chart, long liquidations, just shows liquidations. It doesn't show interest. It shows fear, if anything. This is the equivalent of a VIX. You can see how anytime you have a major nuke, the long liquidations spike up, right? Because the longs are getting liquidated. I mean, that's what the chart shows. So it is a potential bottom indicator anytime you see these spike up, quite significantly high. The problem with long liquidations based in nominal USD is because the market grows in size over time. So you need to compare the liquidations with their local liquidations, but typically they're always changing in volume. So sometimes it's hard to figure out precisely whether or not it's a significant liquidation. For example, if you pull up this one here, you'll notice that in July, there was a liquidation at this level that I'm drawing. And then over here, a couple of weeks later, there was another one at that same level. Now, if you were just looking at this indicator, you would have said, okay, well, that's a significant bottom. And this is also a significant bottom. And then you would have bought here and got nuked all the way down there, right? So if you need to be very careful with this type of indicator, perhaps there is some way of signal processing this data so that you can understand how significant the liquidation data is, maybe aggregated with other liquidation data. I'm not sure. By itself, it is to a degree useful, but not as useful as some other metrics. Number 3, BTC reserves on centralized exchange. Yes, again, same problem as chart number 1. Doesn't go back very far at all. It doesn't go back fucking very far at all. It's only going back a couple of months. If you zoom out on this, you'll see the amount of BTC on exchanges has been on a downtrend consistently for a very long time. There is no signal in there. Number 4, however, is interesting for me. Increased buyers activity on the last dip. This one is the most significant out of all of them. Buyers step in Bitcoin dip attracts fresh interest. Bitcoin versus stablecoin minting change. 7-day change. The 4-week average of the 7-day change by the looks of it. So Bitcoin prices were banned following last Monday's crash despite continued outflows from Bitcoin spot ETFs. Seems others have bought the dip as evidence that the 30-day minting ratio against its rise against it's just fresh fiat is entering the crypto market with investors capitalizing on low prices and potentially positioning themselves ahead of anticipated Fed rate cuts later in September. So if I zoom in on this, what you can see is that there seems to be a relationship between where the price is rising rapidly and your local highs, except for this one. That's the only exception. So what do you notice about the relationship here? There's only 2 situations where you had significant, to a degree significant, and maybe this one, maybe significant stablecoin minting where the price continued to increase, but the rest of them marked a local top. So I would consider this one to be a fucking top signal, or literally an overbought, oversold signal. It appears to be the case here. There's very few locations where it tells you to buy the bottom as far as the rate of change on this metric goes, and it works quite well. So that is how I would read that. And I would say that this one is the only one with any moderate amount of price signal to it, and as a standalone. I noticed that here you have 5 and 6. Please provide those at a later date, and I'll be happy to go through those. Hey, Professor Adam, this question is purely focused on psychology. No intention to attack you here. Mate, you could fucking call me a motherfucker if you wanted to, and I understand it's not an attack. We're too deep for that, but I appreciate it. Back in 2023, you correctly called for the LSI and got a lot of recognition and attention as a result. When was that? October 23. Cool. Yeah. Yep. Well, using the word "you" may be a bit of a misnomer. It's if that is the correct word. It was the LTPI that correctly. For the LSI condition. It wasn't me. I know nothing. The LSI, yes, did that influence you to take high risk bottom ticking decisions? Probably, yes. As a broad question, is it a psychological risk for us investors to take victory laps on our public calls and analysis? Yes, it is. I suggest that you don't do it. The reason why I do it is because I'm often compelled to because of the state of this university. But then again, I should be leading by example and I shouldn't be getting too hyped up and too excited. Just when I'm publicly making these calls, sometimes it's hard for me to control myself. But yes, you're absolutely correct. You shouldn't be celebrating your wins. You shouldn't be, like this fucking idea that you should be celebrating your wins is so dumb because it's got nothing to do with you and what you did, right, in investing. You should celebrate the decisions you make to follow the systems. That's what you should be celebrating. Again, this is just like every day when I say this, is much me talking to myself as it is discussing this with you. Fuck the winds, right? The winds weren't under your control. The market just did something. What was within your control was following the systems. So every time you make the choice to follow a signal that is coherent with the system you've designed, you should be finding a way of rewarding yourself for that. And anytime you drift away from the system, you should be pulling out fucking like a flail and like, you know, self fucking flagellation, whatever that is, where you're like whipping the fuck out of yourself, like repenting for your sins, because that's precisely what lack of system following should be for you. It should be pain, right? You should feel pleasure when you follow your systems. You should feel pain when you don't follow them. Hey, prof. Didn't know how to get this to most people as possible. Winston Churchill said birds raised in a cage think flying is a disease. The primary reason for the growing gap between rich and poor is because most of the schools teachers were raised in cages known as schools. Most teachers then teach students to seek job security in a cage rather than fly with financial freedom. Rich dad has taught his son and me that money is a tool. Freedom is our goal. This is why rich dad encourages his son and me to learn the skills of an entrepreneur so we can fly anywhere in the world and earn as much as we want. Still many people live in a cage. Yep. Yep. This is a quote from Robert Kiyosaki. Fuck Robert Kiyosaki! His and your views and wealth making money from what I can see are very alike, and it's very interesting. How offensive. How wealthy and valuable people tend to have the same views on most aspects of life. I mean, capitalism, thank you for teachings, and one thing for everybody, don't quit. Absolutely. Yeah, as you can probably tell, not the hugest fan of Robert Kiyosaki, at least in his modern form. On social media, he's a fucking fear salesman, and that's all he is. He's I mean, he's got good. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of, and only the Australians will understand this one, and very few Australians will really understand this, but there's a book in Australia. It's called The Barefoot Investor, and it's like the fucking gateway drug to financial literacy in Australia, right? Rich Dad Poor Dad is just the global version of that because it's American, right? Robert Kiyosaki releases the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's probably one of the first books I ever read on financial literacy too. I will never forget where I found that book. It was on a fucking tiny little bookshelf at one of the mine sites I was on. They had what was called a library, and it was this fucking nook. It was just like a piece of a cut-off hallway with one chair in it and this tiny little bookshelf. All these bullshit books, and Rich Dad Poor Dad was in there, and I took that book and I would read it. It was so long ago, and it was a good book. It's a good book because it's a gateway drug. It makes you think about how assets and liabilities work and how you can use them. But once you go past a certain point, I mean, it's just some basic shit. I mean, it's more complicated than anything that he can articulate in that book. I mean, it's good to start off with, but the way that he is in modern society there's no signal and it's all noise. But if you're here and you're in this campus already, then you don't really need the book. But I appreciate your kind words, my friend. I appreciate it. Bar model is broken. Hopefully Nick pulls his finger out and remodels it over time. Short-term holders very low in no profits. Excellent. Fan this week from the fan of Gabriel Investment seems quite interesting. I think you will too. As a rough rule of thumb, macro Bitcoin trends are often lagging behind gold by a few months. Looks promising. See, I looked at this one, and I'm going to be completely transparent with you, bro. I must be retarded because I can't see the fucking relationship. These two are moving in opposite directions to each other so often. Maybe not that one so much, but like what's he trying to point out here? There's only a couple of sections here where there is even a moderate relationship between price, and it's questionable at best. I don't see it personally. I think I know what he's trying to say, because technically when global liquidity rises, the relationship is Bitcoin moves first and then later gold moves, and what he's done is he's tried to lag it by bringing gold back in line with Bitcoin. But yeah, whereas he's brought it forwards. But the way that he set it up here, I just don't see it. Right, not useful. What was this one? Yep, not useful. This one's useful. I like this one too. I like this one. More bankruptcies. Quite interesting to see. Typically, this is the stress that starts to cause financial institutions to fail. So you think of it like this, right? You've got rising bankruptcies, and you have falling collateral values and fucking bond stress. In the banking system, regional banks specifically will probably be facing a lot of this type of stuff. So if you've got more bankruptcies and lower collateral values, that is a huge amount of stress. Also, the amount of unrealized losses on these banks' books. Hey, prof, not much of a question, but I saw this just now and thought it would be relevant to investing analysis. I guess the idea is that they will hike but take measures to soften the blow of the US markets. Admittedly, yeah. So it's been known for a few days that Japan has had a bit of a flip on their monetary policy, and they've said that while the market is volatile, they're not going to be hiking rates, and they're a little bit worried about them causing an issue in the global financial system by raising rates too quickly. So I anticipated this. I don't think there's anything material to see just quite yet, but we'll keep an eye on it. So that's all I've got for you today, guys. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And if you appreciate me, please share that love forwards to your new students. If today's your first ever investing analysis, then make sure you get through that masterclass. Otherwise, most of the stuff that I've covered probably won't make sense to you, or the methods and the way that I look at things probably won't make sense to you. So get through the masterclass, help out your new students, the ones who are very new. Please be nice to them. Of course, you can flame the masterclass grads all you like. And guys, I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Investing Analysis. Peace.